From the Western Mass News studios in Springfield, this is Western Mass News Getting Answers with Dave Mattson.
Thanks for joining me for this week's edition of Western Mass News Getting Answers. Every week, I'm joined by political and business leaders and other newsmakers to talk about the issues that impact you. This week, I am pleased to be joined by the president and CEO of the Eastern States Exposition, Cassidy. The Big E opens in West Springfield this Friday, the 16th, and runs through Sunday, October 7th. The Big E, an annual 17-day fair that represents all 6 New England states. The iconic festival has been held every year since 1916, barring interruptions from both world wars and, of course, the COVID-19 pandemic a couple of years ago. It features, of course, a wide range of entertainment, unique food vendors, carnival rides, animals, agricultural exhibits, daily parades, and more, with nearly 1.5 million attendees last year alone. The Big E, a fall tradition for many New Englanders and for all people across the country. Gene and I are going to talk about bouncing back from the COVID-19 pandemic in a big way and what's new this year when it comes to entertainment, exhibits, and food. Gene, good to see you.
I'm happy to be here, Dave. Thanks for having me.
Coming close.
That we are.
It's you know, you look at it, it's hard to believe it's been a year now, less than a week. The Big E opens for another season, and for the first time in 2 years without the shadow of COVID-19 hanging over you.
Yeah, that feels good. That feels good. We as we opened in 21, and we had a great run, and last year was our 3rd biggest fair. People were very responsive to the fair, but that shadow that caused us to be very concerned, and everything went well, and this year we're in much better shape.
You know, when I saw the attendance from last year, it just, I think it proved to all of us, and I think we all knew this too, that people were just dying to get out and do something after being cooped up for 2 years.
You know, I don't think that gets enough play in the press today, because people were feeling that way. They wanted to be out, they wanted to be back together again. But it really had a wave effect, I think, across the economy, and in some large degree is responsible for, the demand for all kinds of products went way up, and we couldn't get things. So that rebound, people's rebound to normalcy, had a big wave across the world in the economies.
That normalcy.
Yes, normalcy. Well, we like normal.
Whatever it is now. But, well, I know as chair of the International Association of Fairs and Expositions, you've said that the fair industry was devastated by COVID. So are things starting to rebound, or do you think it's going to take a few more years to really get back to where you were?
There was a weeding out, unfortunately. Some people couldn't make it through COVID. But those that did, I think, came back strong because of the pent-up demand. So, what we do, we're fun and fair and glitz and lights and music and all the food and entertainment and whatnot, but really what we do as an industry across North America, is promote agriculture. We create agricultural markets, the big fairs. And we've bounced back quite strongly because of people's response. Sometimes I don't necessarily think people understand that when they buy a ticket for entrance to the fair, what they're really doing is they're funding something that's going on behind the scenes in our agricultural world. And so their response is important to our ability to be able to continue our mission, but it has a uniform effect across the country for all the fairs. And,
sure.
And so I think we've come back strong. All the fair industry has come back very strong for that reason.
That's good to see. Now, I know, we talk about this, the Big E, a huge seasonal and year-round employer in what's been a tight labor market. Has it been challenging finding people to work at the fair? And how many openings do you need to fill?
So it's amazing. On our payroll, we have permanent employees, about 33 people, year-round, and we have a huge cadre of part-time staff who come in intermittently when we have events and things. But during the fair, we have 1,000 people on our payroll, and then there's about another 2,500 people who have jobs on the fairgrounds working for vendors and concessionaires and whatnot. Last year was very difficult. Again, there was COVID fear. In most cases, though, if you're on the payroll of the Eastern States, you're there for life.
Yeah.
We have retained as much as 97% of our employees from one year to the next. We have a lot of generational employees, mothers, fathers, grandparents, children. So we've always fared pretty well when it comes to hiring. And this year we had to fill very few jobs. Out of those 1,000 jobs, more than normal, but less than 150 people.
That's good.
So it's very good. I mean, literally, though, there have been some, I've been with the fair for 29 years now. There have been years when we've only hired 5 people. At any rate, we've a little insulated, I think, from some of the hiring stresses that others might feel.
Sure. And I know last year there were some, not issues, but there were a lot of vendors who used to be there through the fair. Some of them didn't come back,
right,
because with COVID. But I'm guessing by now they're all coming back.
Yeah, they're all coming back, and
Yeah.
COVID, caused some people to get out of the business. Food concessionaires work, very, very hard. It's a very, very difficult job, and our society is changing, and it's changing quite rapidly. 29 years ago when I started at the Eastern States, food concessionaires were a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
There are less and less of them because the work is so taxing. So, again, society is changing. We're unfortunately, and I hesitate, I feel funny saying this, but we're not producing hard workers anymore. So my fear is a generation from now, there's going to be less and less of those people on the road. And what they deliver for us and all of the fair-going public is a diversity of products.
Yeah.
And although this year we have some incredible new products, which we'll talk about, I'm sure, but they bring a diversity of product, and that's what makes the fair entertaining in some measure.
Oh, absolutely. We've heard through the years, but in the last couple of years, how much does the Big E bring into the Valley economy here? And I know it's a lot.
Yeah, so we measured our impact in 2019, and we don't just commission a study to be done by a local college or the Chamber of Commerce. There's a company that was hatched out of the University of Massachusetts back 40 years ago called Regional Economic Models, Inc., REMI. They are a world-class economic modeling firm, and they do modeling for Fortune 50 corporations and governments around the world, and they do our modeling as well. REMI reports that we contribute nearly $750 million of impact to our regional economy, which would make the Eastern States among the most important organizations in Western Massachusetts.
Sure, yeah, right up there with the Mass Mutuals, Bay State Health, and yeah.
So it's a huge impact, and it's important to our economy, and it's one of those things that happens sort of behind the scenes that the fairgoer wouldn't necessarily pay attention to.
Sure. Now, I talked about this at the beginning, nearly 1.5 million people attended the fair last year. The final Sunday, setting that all-time highest single-day attendance of more than 177,000. That's impressive, just given coming out of COVID, to break that record there.
Yeah, I mean, I said to the governor, on certain days we become the second biggest city in the Commonwealth. People, they were out in force. Of course, the weather plays a huge role.
Yeah.
And we were blessed with really ideal fair weather last year. Interesting, though, I think people realized it was the last day of the fair and they came out in force.
Yeah, we can't miss it this year. It was almost like they were waiting. Okay, how did everybody else fare at the fair? All right, now let's go.
I think that was an element for sure. People were sort of testing, with the COVID fog hanging over us. Are people getting sick? And we keep in close contact with our friends at Bay State Medical, who play a role in public safety on the fairgrounds. And very, very few cases were traced to the Eastern States last year. I think less than 10.
Yeah, well, the other part of this too is those numbers. The Big E's now the 3rd largest fair in North America.
Yeah, by virtue of a little quirk, and I hate to put that caveat in there,
because quirks are okay.
Yeah. So the 3 biggest fairs in the world are in Texas: the State Fair of Texas in Dallas, the Houston Livestock Show, Rodeo,
big there,
very big, but and San Antonio. But they all have NFL teams, and so they have NFL games while the fair is going on, and they get to count all the people that are coming to the games.
Oh, all right.
So the next biggest fair is Minnesota, which we always chase, but because of COVID last year, a couple of fairs in Texas didn't run. So we were by default, and we beat Minnesota, which is key because Minnesota is the one that we compete with the most.
Yeah. All right, we're going to take a break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about some of the new things that we can expect this year at the Big E and a wide range of entertainment, too. So stay with us. Welcome back to Western Mass News Getting Answers. My guest this week, the president and CEO of the Eastern States Exposition, Gene Cassidy. The Big E opens on Friday, and I know this year the range of entertainment, I was looking that over. It seems like you have more acts booked this year than ever before. So let's start. Who's going to appear at the Big E's 3 primary musical stages? So we start at the big arena.
Yeah.
That's the big one.
You know, I always have to, I brought a cheat sheet with me because I say, got to go to bigE.com.
I don't know how you can remember it.
Because you can't. We will have 141 musical performances on the grounds in 17 days.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of talent and, big acts. We're going to open up something we created this year because our Irish friends from Dingle, who are a feature of the fair and have been for 25 years, are coming back in full force. So to welcome them back, we're opening the fair with a halfway to St. Patrick's Day. So Dropkick Murphys will be on the stage on Friday the 16th. And then, of course, technically Saturday the 17th is halfway to St. Patrick's Day. So we'll have some celebrations.
They draw a huge crowd.
Yeah, they're great, and they're local.
Yeah.
And so they have a great following, and they're fun. They're nice guys too. We have a cross section. We've got old rock. We've got new.
You just signed a Happy Together tour.
Yes, we did. They're going to be the final Saturday, so that'll be fun.
That's a great. I mean, for everybody, it's like it's like you're getting 5 concerts or 6 concerts in one.
That's right. And it brings a cross generation because that music, it has some legs to it even in this day and age. But Brantley Gilbert will be on the stage of country music, great star. Chase Rice, and it will be appearing with
country
Jimmy
music
Allen.
is real big around here. Isn't
It is big, and it's big in fairs. People like it for sure. And then we go back to Sublime with Rome. Will be on the stage, and of course we're going to close the fair with Leonard Skinner, which is fun. They haven't been easy to get them into the market, so I hope people will enjoy them. It'll be a great time to kind of rekindle at least my high school days.
Yeah, it's too bad you couldn't get any name acts. But all right, so that's the big arena, and then there's Court of Honor stage.
Court of
you
Honor,
see right when you walk in.
Yeah, that's so right. It's a free stage. It's right in front of the Coliseum, behind the Brooks Building. And KT Tunstall will be there, and the Yardbirds, the Baja Man, all that fun stuff. Disappointingly, Jose Feliciano, who doesn't live far from here, who's a wonderful, really, really wonderful human being, getting him to the fair this year I was excited about. But Billboard magazine contacted us a few days ago and indicated that they wanted to give him a Lifetime Achievement Award. So, he's such a good guy, and that's a big deal. So we gave him his contract back, and unfortunately he's not going to be with us, but I'll get him back next year, I hope. And in his place will be John Cicada, another, fun act from back
That's
in the
a good
80s.
swap.
Yeah, it's a good swap. I'll miss Jose, though. He's a very good man.
But what I like to, you brought so many acts to that Court of Honor stage in years past, like Gary Puckett and Darlene Love and people like that. It was just, it brings us back.
Yeah, it's fun to be reminded, and it's an opportunity for people in this marketplace on a scale that's really easy to have access to entertainment.
Yeah, it's part of the Big E ticket price.
Even
right?
if they just walk by the stage, it's something that they can say that, well, I saw so and so at the Big E.
And there's nothing like live music. I mean,
it's a lot of fun.
It really is. All right, now the other one too is the Big E stage where you feature up and coming talent. This is
so the E stage is a concept of John Giuliano several years ago, and we kicked that off, and we feature a lot of local talent, up and coming talent. It's a fun place. It adds a great deal of atmosphere, and so we'll have some local people. There's competitions in certain areas throughout New England. People compete to get on that stage, and we get to present them at the Big E. It's
nice because there are so few places that have a stage for these up-and-coming entertainers, and to be able to perform in front of crowds is a big deal.
Well, yeah, you have an automatic built-in crowd when you come to the Big E, so it gives them an opportunity to really sort of get a taste of it. We had an act, and their name escapes me now, but they actually left the E stage and went down to perform in Nashville. So they use that sort of as a springboard, a stepping
yeah.
stone, give them some familiarity with crowds.
And we know, too, that there's always the Big East Circus in the afternoon parade.
Well, the circus is going to be amazing this year. We always, Wayne McCary, who was my predecessor, is a renowned circus producer. He groomed the next circus producer, who's John Giuliano, and we've got a great lineup to circus. And we also have a brand new circus tent. An amazing, beautiful circus tent where people will have their own bucket seats. It's right out of the box.
Where the old one was?
It'll be right where the old one was. It's a fabulous facility, though, and we've got a great lineup of circus acts from around the world.
That's exciting. And as always, as we touched on, at heart, the Big East and Agricultural Fair, what do we read? 1,100 4-H and FFA participants descending on West Springfield, livestock competitions, horse shows, petting zoos, the whole 9 yards. Yeah, something that all of us in this region should take a great deal of pride in is the FFA program that's produced at the Eastern States. We are the biggest, nationally, we are the biggest production spot for FFA. The Eastern States will bring young people engaged in Future Farmers of America and engineering from 18 states. There's no other place in the country where you'll get more than 1 or 2 states gathered. So it's an important facility for that purpose. We have our dormitory there, which was built for those kids. Back in 1923 by Horace Moses, the founder of Strathmore Paper Company. So that's I'm very proud of that program. It's always good to see that. I mean, the other part of it too is these young people look forward to being at the fair each and every year. It's a really big deal.
Yeah, they compete across the country to come to the Eastern States Exposition.
Yeah, good stuff.
Yeah, it's very good. It does a heart good, for sure.
All right. When we come back, Gene and I are going to talk about the Big E's new and traditional food options and other things you can expect to see. Welcome back to Western Mass News Getting Answers. I'm pleased to be joined this week by the President and CEO of the Eastern States Exposition, Gene Cassidy. Gene, of course, the Big E is big in culture and tradition and taste, and never disappointing as far as the food options. And let's talk about what's new this year. I know you had the taste a couple of weeks ago, but
we did. It's funny, Dave. Every year I'm amazed by what creativity comes from the food concessionaires, because we can kind of scoff. It's a food concessionaire, right? They make hot dogs or popcorn,
sure,
or cotton candy, but the food that comes out of those trailers is really a gastronomic delight. If you rolled the clock back 20 years and you put 2022's food next to 2002's food, you wouldn't recognize it.
Yeah,
food's become entertainment.
Yeah,
for sure. So, we even have a vegan concessionaire coming to the fair this year, and
sign of the times, right?
Well, give it a try. So many people have issues with gluten and whatnot, so we thought that would be a kind of a fun thing to do. It's a fun thing to talk about, and give people some exposure to that. But we have such a diversity of product. We've got Middle Eastern food, Vietnamese food, Puerto Rican food, Chinese tea. This new bubble tea that is all the trend now. Which is something indigenous to China. So we've got a great offering, and again, BigE.com will lead people to all the details. But
plus you also got everything people come to expect to eat.
Yeah,
too,
then you
right?
have the stuff. Like when I was, I every time I'm interviewed, I have to say I'm like the luckiest guy on earth. I was born and raised within walking distance of my office at the Eastern States, so I'm a lifer, right? And, I would always want the clam fritters from the fairgrounds. They were at the Rhode Island building. So people who come to the fair, they have their traditional, their food.
Their fried dough.
Exactly. They know exactly. I remember many years ago with Wayne, we moved some food vendors around because people would say, the fair is the same every year. So we thought we had this bright idea, let's move the food vendors around. We'll change it up. Well, it was the biggest mistake we ever made, because people complained about it. They wanted to know where to go, exactly where their food vendor was. So, we've got our cream puffs, of course, which are really, really good, and it's our iconic food product from the Eastern States. This year, they're introducing chocolate for the first time, and I've had I've tasted them. They
You
are
have to
very
taste
good.
everything. Let's go through you first. Right?
I have to get at the first bite of the apple, so to speak. So so there's the staples that are surely will be there.
Yeah, I always have to laugh too, because I always think when you have that tasting, it's a brilliant marketing plan, because everybody knows that people in media will go someplace where there's free food.
So we get exposure for sure.
That's what it boils down to.
We do Ag Day at the State House, and I make sure we bring a popcorn machine with us. And let me tell you what. When Agriculture Day at the State House happens in Boston, everybody is there because they want the popcorn.
Well, politicians and media are like, they're at odds all the time, but there's a lot in common.
There's in common, right?
Last year we talked about how the Eastern States Exposition looking to other forms of revenue during COVID. Has that continued? And what are some of the events you've done over the past year? And what are you looking at between, once the fair closes this year?
Yes, so COVID caused us, we were very worried about our concessionaires, our local concessionaires. They had no place to go. They had no way to make any revenue, and they had payments to make. And so what we did was we created a food opportunity to help them sort of sustain themselves. And it kept a lot of my staff and myself working, because it gave us a place to go and generate some modest cash flow. But we did not sustain that, and we didn't for a reason. The Eastern States runs for 17 days each year, and we put some stress on the local businesses because of the impact that we have with traffic and so if we were to continue to offer things like that, we would in fact start taking away from our brethren businesses in Greater Springfield. So we made a decision that we were not going to continue that
those specialty things,
type of operation.
Give us an idea now that we're talking Sunday. The fair opens on Friday. The things that are going on right now to put the final touches on the fairgrounds. So for that 8 o'clock opening on Friday.
It's pretty hectic. There's a lot of traffic on the fairgrounds. There are a lot of people who like to try to come sightseeing. So I ask people not to do that. People come on the grounds because it is interesting. It's fun to watch. We have on the fairgrounds, it's completely built as we speak, but the largest moving Ferris wheel in the country. It's 150 feet tall. It's very beautiful. It took about 6 years to build and cost about $6 million. North American Entertainment handles our midway, and it's a beautiful thing to see being erected. We're going to put it on our website because we did a time lapse of it.
Oh, that's neat.
People will be able to see
how
it
it comes together.
But we're building a lot. We build the city in West Springfield for the fair. So as we speak now, it's very hectic.
All right, now for a moment, put aside your role as president and CEO of the Big E. If you were coming to the Big E for the first time as a fairgoer, what's the first thing you'd do?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So I've established my long history with the fair. Now, Mr. Brooks was genius when he designed the fairgrounds because he put the midway in the backyard.
Yeah.
So I don't think I knew that there were carnival rides at the fair until I was about 12 years old. So my parents kept me from the rides, but and maybe it's because of that. But I love to see the heavy livestock. So I'm a big fan of our dairy show, our big beef show. We have our beef, the 4-H beef auction will be the first Monday of the fair. I encourage people to be interested in that. It supports 4-H, and you can get some great beef at a very modest price. And then we have the big horses, the horse pulling contests and things like that. So I'm a fan of the livestock, and like I say, it was probably because I missed out in the early years.
All right. Gene, we got to wrap it up. Always good to see you. Thank you. The Big E opens this Friday, and it runs through October 2nd. Remember, you can get all the information at BigE.com. I'm Dave Matson. Thanks for watching. Have a great week, and hope you'll join us next week for Western Mass News Getting Answers.